The hallway echoed with silence as students bustled into their classrooms, except one little girl who sat quietly alone on the wooden bench near the janitor's supply room, her eyes wide and distant. She never spoke. Not a word. Not to teachers. Not to students. Not even to her mother. And then came Ben. Ben was not a teacher, nor a counselor. He was just the janitor. A single dad raising his own daughter in a small apartment across town. He had rough hands, an aching back, and shoes that were patched with tape. But he also had something most people in that school seemed to lack. Time. Every morning, Ben mopped the floors before students arrived. Every afternoon, he cleaned up spilled juice, gum under the desks, and the occasional broken heart of a crying kid who didn't know who else to talk to. But the little girl, Lena, she never cried. She never spoke. She just sat, staring out the window, lost in a world only she understood. Most people thought she was broken. Some said she was cursed. But Ben didn't believe in broken kids. He started small. A soft smile. A silly wave. One day, he brought her a small wooden toy he had carved himself during his lunch break. She stared at it for a moment, then held it to her chest. He didn't try to make her speak. He just showed up, day after day, with kindness. Lena's mother, Victoria Harper, was a cold figure of power in the city. CEO of a global finance firm, known for her fierce demeanor and steely eyes. People feared her in boardrooms and admired her on magazine covers. But at home, her world was full of silence. She didn't know how to reach her daughter. She had tried doctors, therapists, speech experts, spent fortunes trying to fix her. Nothing worked. She saw Lena's muteness as a defect, a failure she couldn't tolerate. But she had no idea what was happening at school. One rainy afternoon, Ben found Lena sitting beside a spilled box of crayons. She had drawn something. Two stick figures holding hands, one with a mop. The other with a dress and a small smile. Ben knelt beside her. "Is that me?" he chuckled. She didn't answer, just nodded gently. That was the first time she ever acknowledged someone's voice. And Ben, in his quiet way, kept sitting beside her every day. He brought books. Sometimes snacks. But mostly, he gave her something she never got from anyone else. Patience. Weeks turned into months. Lena's eyes grew brighter. Her drawings more colorful. Then, one late afternoon, as the halls emptied and rain poured outside, Ben sat down next to her again. "I brought something special today," he whispered, holding a small puppet he'd made with old socks. "His name's Buster. He only talks to brave kids." Lena stared at the puppet. Ben used a silly voice. "Hi Lena. I think you're super strong." And that's when it happened. A whisper. So soft, so unsure. Hi. Ben froze. He looked at her. Her eyes were wide with fear, but something else too, relief. "You did it," he said, quietly. "You really did it." What Ben didn't know was that Victoria was standing at the end of the hall, hidden behind a corner. She had come early to pick Lena up, curious after weeks of her daughter's subtle changes, more expressive drawings, a lightness in her steps. She wanted to see what the teachers had done. But it wasn't a teacher. It was the janitor. She stood there, watching the man in tattered clothes speak gently to her daughter, holding a sock puppet like it was made of gold. And then she heard Lena speak. Her knees almost gave out. Victoria had built empires. Bought out companies. Made grown men cry in meetings. But she couldn't make her own daughter speak. And yet this man, this nobody, had done it. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Silently. Unseen. The next day, Ben was called to the principal's office. He feared the worst. Maybe someone had misunderstood. Maybe they thought he was overstepping. But instead, Victoria was waiting. She stood, arms crossed, eyes tired. "I saw what you did," she said, her voice sharp. "With Lena." Ben straightened. "Ma'am, I meant no harm. I was just trying to help." "No one has ever helped her," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Not really." She sat down. And for the first time in her career, Victoria Harper let herself be vulnerable. "I don't know how to talk to her," she said. "I've tried everything. Money can't buy this." Ben nodded. "It's not about fixing her. It's about listening." That afternoon, Victoria asked if she could join them. Just to sit with them for a while. And for weeks after, she did. Quietly. Learning from a janitor how to be a mother. Ben taught her how to wait. How to draw silly cartoons. How to celebrate tiny victories, like a whispered word or a small laugh. Lena, for the first time, began to speak at home. Slowly. But surely. The walls in their mansion didn't feel so cold anymore. One day, Lena stood in front of her class and read a sentence aloud. The room erupted in applause. Teachers were stunned. Some cried. Victoria was there too. Holding back tears. Clapping with everyone else. She looked over at Ben, who had slipped in quietly at the back of the room, and mouthed 2 words, "Thank you." The janitor smiled. And the powerful message? Sometimes, the ones who fix us aren't wearing suits. They don't come with titles or power.